The final 2 months passed too quickly. Taehyun felt like time was running away from him. Every day with Haewon was precious now. He paid attention to small things he had never noticed before. The way she hummed while cooking. How her eyes brightened when she solved a difficult equation. The gentle way she touched his shoulder when she wanted his attention. He tried to show her how much he cared without saying the words he was afraid to say. He learned to cook Veltheran dishes so he could surprise her with dinner sometimes. He helped her with household tasks, learning the proper way to maintain their quarters according to Veltheran standards. He asked her to teach him more of her language and practiced every day. Your pronunciation is getting better, Haewon said one evening after he successfully ordered dinner in Veltheran from the station's food service. I have a good teacher, Taehyun replied. They were sitting on the large couch in the main room, both of them comfortable in the silence that had become natural between them. Taehyun gathered his courage. The contract would end in 3 weeks. He couldn't keep avoiding this conversation. Haewon, can we talk about what happens after our marriage ends? She looked at him, her expression unreadable. What would you like to talk about? I've been thinking, Taehyun started, then stopped. How could he explain this? These past 5 months have been the best months of my life. I've learned so much. Not just about science or Veltheran culture, but about myself, about what kind of person I want to be. I am glad, Haewon said softly. The thing is, Taehyun continued, I don't want it to end. I know that was the agreement. 6 months and then we go our separate ways, but I want to ask if maybe we could extend the contract, or start a new one, or just keep living together without a contract. Haewon was quiet for a long moment. Why? Because I care about you, Taehyun said. His heart was pounding. Because you make me want to be better. Because coming home to you is the best part of my day. Because I think we work well together. Those are good reasons, Haewon said carefully. But Taehyun, I need to know something. Are these feelings real or are they gratitude? I have taught you many things. I saved your life during the attack. It would be natural for you to feel indebted to me. But debt is not the same as genuine affection. Her words hit hard because they were fair. Was he just grateful? Was he confusing appreciation with something deeper? I've thought about that, Taehyun admitted. At first maybe it was gratitude. But it's more now. When I'm at work, I think about what you would say about my problems. When something funny happens, I want to tell you about it. When I see something beautiful, I want to share it with you. That's not debt. That's caring about someone. Haewon's golden eyes studied his face. And what if I told you I have grown fond of you as well? Taehyun's breath caught. Have you? Yes, you surprised me, Taehyun. When we first married, I expected you would endure the 6 months and leave with relief. I thought perhaps you would learn some small lessons about prejudice. But you did more than learn. You changed. You opened yourself to new experiences and ideas. That takes courage. So you want to continue too? Hope bloomed in Taehyun's chest. I want to be sure we are both making this choice for the right reasons, Haewon said. Not because of a contract or obligation, but because we genuinely wish to be together. I think we should start over. Date properly. Spend time together as two people choosing each other, not as part of an arrangement. I'd like that, Taehyun said. Can we start tonight? Haewon laughed. We live together. How do we start over? I move back into my old quarters, Taehyun said. And I ask you out on a proper date. To the observation deck, maybe. We can watch the stars and talk. Like people who are getting to know each other. That sounds pleasant, Haewon said. I accept. But over the next week, complications arose. Word of their unusual relationship had spread through the station. The story of the human who married a Veltheran as a dare, then fell in love with her, became popular gossip. News services picked it up. It reached both Earth and Velthara. Taehyun started receiving messages from people back home. Some were supportive. His mother sent a kind note saying she wanted to meet Haewon someday. But others were cruel. Former classmates and old friends sent mocking messages. Strangers on social networks made jokes about his relationship. Why would a human marry something that looks like that? One message said. He must be desperate, another wrote. Cross-species relationships are unnatural, someone else claimed. Taehyun tried to ignore them, but it hurt. Not because they were mocking him, but because they were insulting Haewon. She was brilliant and kind and brave, and these people reduced her to her appearance. Haewon faced similar problems. Her family on Velthara sent concerned messages asking if she was happy. Some questioned her choice to be with a human. Other Veltharans on the station looked at her with confusion or disapproval. "Why would you choose someone so small and weak?" one colleague asked her. "Humans are immature as a species," another said. "This relationship has no future." One evening, Haiwan came home looking tired and sad. Taehyun was cooking dinner and he could tell immediately that something was wrong. "What happened?" he asked. "My mother called," Haiwan said quietly. "She is worried about me. She thinks I am making a mistake being with you. She said people on Velthar are talking about us and not in kind ways." Taehyun felt his stomach sink. "Do you think it's a mistake?" "No," Haiwan said firmly. "But I am tired of defending my choices to everyone. Why does it matter so much to others who I care about?" "Because people fear what they don't understand," Taehyun said. He took her hands in his. All four of them. "My friends, your colleagues, our families. They see us as human and Veltharan before they see us as Taehyun and Haiwan. They care more about our species than our happiness." "It is not fair," Haiwan said. "No, it's not. But we have a choice. We can let their opinions matter more than our own feelings, or we can decide that what we have is worth fighting for." Haiwan looked at him with those golden eyes. "You would fight for this, for us? Even knowing it will be difficult?" "Especially because it will be difficult," Taehyun said. "You taught me that growth requires challenge. Our relationship is challenging everyone's assumptions about humans and Veltharans. Maybe that's a good thing." "You have definitely changed," Haiwan said with a small smile. "The man I married 5 months ago would never have said something like that." "The man you married 5 months ago was an idiot," Taehyun replied. "I'm trying to be better." Their marriage contract officially ended on schedule. Taehyun moved his belongings back to his old quarters. It felt wrong being away from Haiwan, but they both agreed this was important. They needed to choose each other freely. Taehyun asked her on dates. Real dates. They went to the observation deck and watched the stars. They attended a Veltharan cultural performance where musicians played instruments with all four hands, creating harmonies Taehyun had never heard before. They tried foods from different alien species at the station's restaurants. They talked about everything. Their childhoods, their dreams, their fears. Taehyun told her about growing up on Earth, about his father who worked in factories, about his mother who taught him to love learning. Haiwan shared stories of Velthara, of studying under crushing gravity, of the day she left her planet to join the research station. "I was terrified," Haiwan admitted, leaving home for the first time, going to a place with normal gravity where everything felt too light, meeting species who looked so different from me. "But you did it anyway," Taehyun said. "Because staying safe at home would have meant never growing," Haiwan replied. "Fear is natural, but fear should not be a cage." After 2 months of dating, Taehyun knew what he wanted. He invited Haiwan to dinner at the nicest restaurant on the station. He wore his best clothes and brought flowers. A human custom he had explained to her. "Haiwan," he said as they finished their meal, "I want to ask you something important. Not because of a dare or a contract or obligation. I want to marry you again. For real this time. Because I love you." There, he had said it. The words hung in the air between them. Haiwan reached across the table with 2 of her hands, taking both of his. "I love you too, Taehyun. You have become precious to me. Yes, I will marry you again." Taehyun felt like his heart might burst. "Really?" "Really. But this time we do it properly. We tell our families. We have a real ceremony with both human and Veltharan traditions. We build a life together not as an experiment or a lesson, but as partners." "I want that," Taehyun said. "I want all of that." They left the restaurant holding hands, or rather Taehyun held one of Haiwan's hands, while her other 3 swung freely at her sides. People stared at them as they walked through the station. Some looked curious, some looked disapproving, some smiled. Taehyun didn't care anymore. Let them look. Let them judge. He had found something rare and precious. He had found someone who made him better, who challenged him, who cared about him not despite his flaws, but because she saw his potential. And he had found that by opening his mind to someone completely different from himself, he had discovered parts of himself he never knew existed. The dare that had started as a joke had become the greatest gift of his life. After the pirate attack, everything changed between Taehyun and Haiwan. He stopped pretending to be distant. He stopped thinking of their marriage as something temporary to endure. Instead, he started really trying. He asked her to teach him about Veltharan culture. Every evening after work, they would sit together, and she would tell him stories about her home planet. She showed him pictures of the massive cities built to withstand crushing gravity. She explained the festivals and traditions. She taught him phrases in her language beyond the basic words he had picked up. Why do Veltharans value knowledge so much? Taehyun asked one night. Haewon thought for a moment. Our planet is harsh. The gravity makes everything difficult. Simple tasks require great strength. Early in our history, we realized that using our minds was more efficient than using only our bodies. The Veltharans who survived were the ones who could think their way through problems. Over generations, intelligence became our greatest trait. That makes sense, Taehyun said. Humans are similar in some ways. We're not the strongest or fastest species, but we adapt quickly. We learn. Yes, Haewon agreed. That is humanity's gift. Adaptability. You change faster than any species I have studied. It can make you arrogant, but it also gives you great potential. Taehyun smiled. Is that why you agreed to marry me? You wanted to study human adaptability? Haewon's golden eyes met his. Partly, but also because I sensed you had a good heart beneath your pride. I wanted to see if I was right. And was you right? I am still learning, Haewon said, but her tone was warm. The next week, Haewon invited Taehyun to collaborate on one of her research projects. It was a complex problem involving quantum entanglement stability during faster-than-light travel. The mathematics were far beyond anything he had learned in school. I don't know if I can help with this, Taehyun admitted, looking at the equations on her screen. This is way above my level. You have practical engineering knowledge, Haewon said. I have theoretical mathematics. Together we might find solutions neither of us could find alone. Will you try? They worked together for weeks. At first, Taehyun felt stupid. He had to ask Haewon to explain basic concepts over and over, but she never got impatient. She taught him like he was her student, breaking down complicated ideas into simple parts. Slowly, he began to understand. The numbers started to make sense. He even contributed some ideas of his own, applying practical engineering solutions to her theoretical problems. This is brilliant, Haewon said one evening, looking at a design Taehyun had sketched. I have been thinking about this problem for months, and you solved it by approaching it from a completely different angle. Really? Taehyun felt his face flush with pride. Really, your human creativity is valuable, Taehyun. Do not dismiss your own abilities. Their combined work led to a breakthrough in the project. Haewon presented their findings to her research team, and she made sure to credit Taehyun as her partner. The other scientists looked at him with respect. For the first time in his life, Taehyun felt like he had accomplished something truly important. But not everything was going well. His human friends had started acting strange around him. They invited him out less. When they did talk, they made jokes about him being domesticated or going native. One night at the bar, Daeho finally said what they were all thinking. You've changed, man. You used to be fun. Now you spend all your time with that Veltharan. Her name is Haewon, Taehyun said quietly. And yes, I spend time with her. She's my wife. It's a fake marriage, Kiwon reminded him. It's just a dare. Remember? Taehyun looked at his drink. It doesn't feel fake anymore. His friends exchanged glances. Don't tell me you're actually falling for her, Daeho said. Would that be so wrong? Taehyun asked. She's an alien, Kiwon said. It's weird. Taehyun felt anger rise in his chest. 3 months ago I would have agreed with you. But that was before I knew her. Before I understood anything about Veltharans or any other species, we were all ignorant, and we thought being ignorant made us strong. What are you talking about? Daeho asked. I'm talking about how I've learned more in 4 months with Haewon than I learned in years working on this station. She's brilliant, kind, strong, and patient. She's taught me things about science, culture, and myself. And you want me to pretend that doesn't matter because she's different from us? His friends were quiet. Finally, Daeho spoke. Look, man, we set up this dare to teach you a lesson. You were being an arrogant jerk about other species. We wanted you to see that aliens aren't what you thought. But we didn't expect you to actually fall for one. Maybe that's the real lesson, Taehyun said. He finished his drink and stood up. I need to go home. As he walked back to his quarters, Taehyun thought about what home meant now. It wasn't his old cramped room. It was the place where Haewon was. When did that happen? He found her reading in the main room. She looked up and smiled when he entered. How was your evening with your friends? Complicated, Taehyun said. He sat down next to her. Can I ask you something personal? Of course. When you first left your planet, did other species treat you badly? Because of how you look? Haewon's expression grew sad. Yes. Many species see Veltharans and think we are slow or stupid because of our size. In my first year away from home, I was bullied by other students. They made jokes about my weight, my speed, my appearance. It was painful. How did you handle it? I decided to judge people by their actions, not their initial reactions to me. Some of those students who bullied me later became my friends once they got to know me. Others remained cruel, and I learned to ignore them. The most important thing I learned is that first impressions are not final truths. People can change. I can change. Everyone can grow, Taehyun nodded. You gave me a chance to change. Even though I was just like those bullies, why? Haewon reached out and touched his hand with one of hers. Because I saw something in you that first day. Beneath your arrogance was curiosity. Beneath your fear was the ability to learn. I wanted to see if that small spark could grow into something more. And did it? What do you think? Haewon asked gently. Taehyun looked at their hands touching. I think I was an idiot. I wasted the first 2 months of our marriage avoiding you. I could have been learning from you this whole time. You were not ready yet, Haewon said. Learning requires openness. You had to become open first. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Then Taehyun took a deep breath. He needed to tell her the truth. Haewon, I need to confess something. When I proposed this marriage, it was because of a dare. My friends bet me that I couldn't live with a Veltharan for 6 months. I was drunk and prideful, and I agreed. I'm so sorry. You deserved better than that. Haewon was quiet. Then she started laughing. It was a deep musical sound. Why are you laughing? Taehyun asked, confused. Because I already knew. Haewon said, still smiling. I knew from the first day. It was obvious from how uncomfortable you were, from how your friends acted. The Cultural Exchange Office even warned me about the situation. You knew? This whole time? Yes, I agreed to the marriage anyway. But why? Haewon's golden eyes were warm. Because I thought it would be interesting. Because I wanted to see if you could grow beyond your prejudices. Because I was curious about humans and their capacity for change. And because I admit I was a little lonely on this station. Having a companion, even a reluctant one, seemed nice. Taehyun didn't know whether to laugh or cry. So we both went into this marriage for the wrong reasons. Perhaps, Haewon agreed. Or perhaps there are no wrong reasons, only unexpected journeys. We started from dishonesty and discomfort. But look where we are now. We are friends, are we not? Yes, Taehyun said. We're friends. But even as he said it, he knew that word wasn't enough anymore. Somewhere in the past 4 months, his feelings had grown into something deeper. He cared about Haewon. He respected her. He enjoyed her company more than anyone else's. He was falling in love with her. The realization hit him like a physical blow. How had this happened? When did it happen? And what was he supposed to do about it? Their marriage contract had 2 months left. Then they would separate and go back to their individual lives. That had been the deal. But Taehyun didn't want that anymore. He looked at Haewon, sitting peacefully beside him, her large form relaxed and comfortable. She had given him so much. She had taught him, protected him, and been patient with him even when he didn't deserve it. The thought of losing her made his heart ache. But did she feel the same way? Or was he just a project to her, an experiment in human behavior? He was afraid to ask and afraid to hope. 3 months into the marriage, Taehyun had settled into a comfortable routine. He and Haewon worked together sometimes. They ate meals together. They talked about their days. It was nice. He almost forgot it was supposed to be fake. Then the alarm started. It was a normal Tuesday afternoon. Taehyun was at work when the station's emergency sirens began blaring. The sound was different from the usual alarms. This was the attack warning. All personnel to emergency stations, a voice announced over the speakers. This is not a drill. We are under attack. Repeat, this is not a drill. Taehyun's blood went cold. Attack? The station had never been attacked before. It was a peaceful trade station. Why would anyone attack it? Everyone move! The chief engineer shouted. Get to the safe zones now. People ran in all directions. Taehyun followed the crowd, his heart pounding. He had been trained for this, but training was different from the real thing. His hands were shaking. He made it to a safe zone in the residential wing. It was a reinforced room designed to protect people during emergencies. About 40 people were already there. Humans and aliens mixed together. Everyone looked scared. What's happening? Someone asked. Pirate attack, another person said. I heard it's the Krillax. They hit 3 other stations this month. Taehyun knew about the Krillax. They were a species of raiders who attacked trade stations for supplies and valuables. They were violent and had no mercy. His stomach felt sick. He pulled out his communication device and sent a message to Haewon. Where are you? Are you safe? A few seconds later, she replied. In our quarters. Are you secure? Yes, I'm in Safe Zone 7. Stay where you are. Don't try to move. Understood. The station shook as something exploded outside. People screamed. The lights flickered. Taehyun pressed himself against the wall, trying not to panic. He wanted to be brave, but he was terrified. An hour passed. The explosions continued. Then the safe zone door opened. A security officer came in, his face covered in blood. They've breached the residential wing, the officer said. Everyone needs to evacuate to the core safe room. Move quickly and stay together. People started filing out. Taehyun joined them, his legs feeling weak. As they moved through the corridors, he could hear weapons fire in the distance. The pirates were inside the station. Suddenly, he remembered something. His quarters were in the residential wing. Haewon was there. I have to go back, Taehyun said to the security officer. Are you insane? Keep moving. My wife is back there. I have to help her. Before the officer could stop him, Taehyun broke away from the group and ran back toward his quarters. His common sense told him this was stupid, but he couldn't leave Haewon alone. Not after everything she had done for him. He reached their section and found chaos. Several doors had been blown open. Smoke filled the air. He heard voices speaking in a harsh language he didn't understand. The pirates were close. Taehyun reached his door and pressed his hand to the entry pad. It opened. He rushed inside. Haewon, he called out. The main room was empty. Then he heard sounds from her bedroom. He ran to the door and found it locked from the inside. Haewon, it's me. Open up. The door slid open. Taehyun stepped inside and stopped dead. Haewon was standing there, but she looked completely different. She was wearing some kind of armored suit that covered her body. In each of her 4 hands, she held a weapon. Her golden eyes were focused and sharp. What are you doing here? Haewon asked, her voice calm but firm. You should be in the safe zone. I came to help you, Taehyun said stupidly. He had no weapons, no plan. He just ran here on impulse. Help me? Haewon tilted her head. Taehyun, I appreciate the thought, but you need to leave. Now. Before he could respond, there was a loud crash from the main room. The entry door had been blown open. Rough voices shouted in that harsh language. The pirates had found them. Haewon moved faster than Taehyun had ever seen her move. She pushed him behind her with one hand while raising her weapons with the other 3. The bedroom door slid open and 3 Krillax pirates entered the main room. They were tall, armored creatures with sharp teeth and cruel eyes. They saw Haewon and laughed. One of them said something that sounded mocking. They clearly thought a fat Velthran woman would be easy prey. They were very wrong. Haewon moved like lightning. 2 of her weapons fired bright energy blasts that hit the first pirate in the chest. He went down hard. The other 2 pirates barely had time to raise their own weapons before Haewon was on them. Taehyun watched in absolute shock as his wife fought. She was fast, impossibly fast. Her large body moved with precision and power. She blocked attacks with one arm while firing with another. She kicked one pirate so hard he flew backwards into the wall. The 3rd pirate tried to shoot her, but she grabbed his weapon with 2 hands and crushed it like paper. Within 30 seconds, all 3 pirates were on the ground, unconscious or worse. Haewon turned back to Taehyun. She wasn't even breathing hard. Are you injured? No, How did you... What? Taehyun couldn't form a complete sentence. We need to move, Haewon said. She took his hand with one of hers. Stay close to me. They left the quarters and entered the corridor. More pirates appeared. Haewon fought them all. Taehyun stayed behind her, useless but amazed. His wife was a warrior. A real warrior. Every movement was efficient and deadly. She protected him without even thinking about it. As they moved toward the core safe room, they found other people trapped by the pirates. Haewon rescued them all. She cleared corridors, disabled weapons, and took down raiders twice her height. Other Veltharans joined her, also armed and armored. Together, they pushed the pirates back. All Veltharan civilians have combat training, Haewon explained as she fought. Our world has a violent history. We learned long ago that peace must be defended. Station security finally arrived with reinforcements. The pirates were driven off the station. The attack was over. Dozens of people owed their lives to HFY and the other Veltharans who had fought. In the aftermath, Taehyun sat in their quarters, still shaking. HFY had changed out of her armor. She brought him water and sat down next to him. "I'm sorry you had to see that," she said quietly. "Don't be sorry," Taehyun said. "You saved my life. You saved everyone. I had no idea you could fight like that. Most people don't know. We don't talk about it much. Veltharans prefer to be known for our science and mathematics." HFY looked at her hands. "But when we must fight, we fight well. Our bodies are built for it. High-gravity worlds create strong people." "You're amazing," Taehyun said. "I've been such an idiot. That first night in the bar, I called your people slow and lazy. I'm so ashamed." HFY was quiet for a moment. "You were ignorant. But ignorance can be cured with knowledge and experience. You are not the same person you were 3 months ago, Taehyun. I see how you have grown." "Because of you," Taehyun said. "You've been teaching me this whole time. About math, about culture, about respect. And I didn't even realize it. That is the best kind of teaching," HFY said with a small smile. "When the student learns without knowing they are being taught." The station commander called a meeting the next day. He publicly thanked HFY and the other Veltharans who had defended the station. He gave them medals and honors. Everyone applauded. Taehyun stood in the crowd, clapping harder than anyone. His friends were there, too. They looked at HFY with new respect. The dare that had started as a joke had become something completely different. That night, Taehyun lay in bed thinking about everything that had happened. He had come into this marriage as a bet, a way to prove himself to his friends. But now, 3 months later, he realized something that terrified him. He didn't want it to end. In 3 more months, their contract would be finished. They would go their separate ways. The thought made his chest hurt. Somewhere along the way, this fake marriage had started to feel real. And Taehyun had no idea what to do about it. The first week was strange. Taehyun kept to himself, leaving early for work and coming back late. He avoided talking to HFY as much as possible. When they did cross paths in the quarters, he gave short answers and excused himself quickly. But living with someone made it hard to avoid them completely. On the 4th night, Taehyun came home to find food waiting for him. HFY had prepared dinner and left a portion for him on the counter. The smell was strange but not bad. There was a note next to it written in careful human script. "Traditional Veltharan meal. High in protein and nutrients. Please try it, HFY." Taehyun looked at the purple and orange food suspiciously. It looked weird. But he was hungry and ordering station food was expensive. He took a small bite, his eyes went wide. It was delicious. The flavors were complex and rich, nothing like the bland protein packs he usually ate. Before he knew it, he had finished the entire plate. The next morning, he left a note saying thank you. He felt it was the right thing to do. This became their routine. HFY cooked, Taehyun ate, and they stayed out of each other's way. It wasn't friendship, but it wasn't terrible either. Then everything changed during his 2nd week there. Taehyun was at work when the emergency alarms went off. One of the station's main power grids had failed. The engineering team rushed to fix it, but the problem was bigger than expected. The backup systems were failing too. If they didn't fix it fast, an entire section of the station would lose life support. "What's causing the cascade failure?" the chief engineer shouted. "Someone find the root cause." Taehyun and 5 other engineers worked for 3 hours straight. They ran diagnostics, checked connections, rebuilt code. Nothing worked. The power kept dropping. People were starting to panic. "We need to shut down everything and restart," someone suggested. "That will take too long," the chief said. "We need the answer now." Taehyun was staring at his screen, trying to figure out the power flow pattern, when he heard a familiar voice behind him. "The problem is in the quantum relay buffer." He turned around. HFY was standing there in her work clothes. She must have heard about the emergency and come to help. "What?" Taehyun said. "Your power grid uses quantum entanglement for load balancing," HFY explained calmly. "But the buffer is not synchronized properly. The phase variance is 0.003 degrees off. It seems small, but at quantum scale, it creates exponential feedback." The chief engineer looked at her. "Can you fix it?" "Yes, may I?" HFY gestured to the main console. Everyone stepped back. HFY's forearms moved across the controls with incredible speed. Her thick fingers flew over the keys and screens. She pulled up equations that Taehyun barely understood, numbers and symbols that looked like pure mathematics. Within 5 minutes, the alarm stopped. The power grid stabilized. The numbers on all the screens turned green. "How did you do that?" the chief asked. "Quantum mathematics is my specialty," HFY said simply. "I noticed the problem in the pattern. The solution was clear once I saw the phase variance." The other engineers stared at her with new respect. The chief thanked her several times. As people went back to work, Taehyun stood there feeling stupid. He had been struggling for hours with a problem she solved in minutes. That night, Taehyun came home quietly. HFY was in the main room reading something on a holographic screen. "Thank you for today," Taehyun said. "You saved a lot of people." "I was glad to help," HFY replied. "Your team worked very hard. Sometimes these problems just need a different perspective." Taehyun sat down across from her. For the first time, he really looked at her. "What exactly do you do in the research lab?" "I work on quantum probability equations for faster-than-light travel," HFY said. "We are trying to reduce the energy requirements by 14%. If successful, it will make space travel much cheaper and safer." "That sounds important." "It is important to me," HFY said. "What do you do in engineering?" "I fix things. Coolant systems, air filters, basic repairs." Suddenly, his job sounded boring. "Fixing things is also important," HFY said kindly. "Without engineers like you, stations like this would not function. Every role matters." Over the next few weeks, Taehyun found himself talking to HFY more. She was easy to talk to. She never made him feel dumb, even when she explained complicated things. She was patient and clear. He learned that Veltherans came from a high-gravity planet. Their thick bodies were not fat at all. They were dense muscle and strong bones built to survive crushing gravity. What looked slow to humans was actually very controlled movement. Veltherans could move fast when they needed to. He learned that Veltheran culture valued knowledge above almost everything else. Children were taught mathematics and science from a young age. Being smart was more important than being strong or good-looking. He learned that HFY had 3 siblings, all of them scientists or teachers. Her parents were proud of her work on the station. One evening, Taehyun was working on a personal project at his desk. He was trying to design a better air recycling system for small ships, but he kept hitting a wall with the calculations. He heard a gentle knock on his door. HFY stood there with 2 cups of hot liquid. "I made Veltheran tea," she said. "I thought you might like to try it." "May I come in?" "Sure," Taehyun said. She handed him a cup and sat in the chair near his desk. The tea smelled sweet and earthy. "What are you working on?" HFY asked. Taehyun explained his air recycling idea. HFY listened carefully, her golden eyes focused on his screen. "This is a good design," she said. "But you are losing efficiency here." She pointed with one of her 4 hands. "If you adjust the flow rate and use a spiral pattern instead of straight lines, you will increase oxygen output by at least 20%. "Really?" Taehyun looked at where she was pointing. "I didn't think of that. Would you like help with the calculations?" HFY offered. "I enjoy this kind of problem." They worked together for the next 2 hours. HFY showed him mathematical tricks he had never learned in school. She explained things in ways that made sense. By the end of the night, his design was twice as good as before. "Thank you," Taehyun said. "I couldn't have done this without you." "You had the idea," HFY said. "I just helped with the numbers." "You are creative, Taehyun. That is a valuable skill." After she left, Taehyun sat in his room thinking. He had been so wrong about Veltherans, about HFY. She wasn't slow or lazy. She was brilliant. She was kind. She was helping him become better at his own work. He felt ashamed of the things he had said about her people that night in the bar. Later that week, Taehyun's friends came to visit. They wanted to see how he was surviving. They expected him to be miserable. "So how's married life?" Daeho asked with a smirk. "It's fine," Taehyun said. "Just fine." "Come on, you must hate it." Taehyun hesitated. "Actually, it's not bad. HFY is really smart. She helped fix that power grid failure last week, and she's teaching me some advanced math." His friends looked at him strangely. "Are you feeling okay?" HFY asked. "You sound different." "I'm fine," Taehyun said. "I'm just learning things, that's all." After they left, Taehyun realized his friends were right. He did sound different. He was different. Living with HFY was changing him, and he wasn't sure how he felt about that. That night, he couldn't sleep. He lay in bed thinking about the dare, about his pride, about all the stupid things he had believed. He got up and walked to the main room. Through the window, he could see stars and the curve of Velthara Prime below. He heard a sound and turned. HFY was there, speaking quietly to a hologram. It was her family. Taehyun started to leave, but he heard his name. "Yes, I married a human," HFY was saying in her own language. Taehyun had been learning some Veltharan words, enough to understand basic conversation. "Why would you do that?" a voice asked. It sounded like her mother. "Because he needed to learn," HFY said, "and perhaps I needed to learn too. Humans are young in the galaxy. They are arrogant because they are frightened, but they can grow. I see potential in this one." Taehyun quietly went back to his room. His heart was beating fast, she knew. She had known about the dare from the beginning. And she had still agreed to marry him, not because she was fooled, but because she wanted to teach him something. He felt embarrassed and grateful at the same time. HFY was giving him a chance to be better. The question was, would he take it? The bar on Station Velthara Prime was loud tonight. Humans crowded around tables, drinking and laughing after another long work week. Taehyun sat with his friends, his voice carrying over the noise as he told another story about his engineering skills. "I fixed that coolant system in half the time the manual said it would take," Taehyun bragged, taking a long drink. "These alien designs are so complicated for no reason. Humans could build better systems with our eyes closed." His friend Daeho rolled his eyes. They had all heard this before. Taehyun always acted like humans were better than everyone else in the galaxy. It was getting old. "You know what your problem is?" Daeho said, leaning forward. "You talk big, but you don't actually know anything about other species. You just assume we're better," Taehyun laughed. "Because we are better. Look at how fast we joined the Galactic Union. 50 years and we're already running half the stations out here." "Running half the stations?" Another friend, Kiwon, shook his head. "Taehyun, we do basic maintenance work. The real complex stuff, the quantum computers, the gravity generators, the faster-than-light calculations, that's all done by aliens who've been doing this for thousands of years." "Whatever." Taehyun waved his hand dismissively. He looked across the bar and spotted a group of Veltharans at another table. They were large beings with blue-purple skin and 4 arms. Their bodies were round and thick. "Look at those Veltharans. They move so slow. They're fat and lazy. I bet they can't do half the work we do." Daeho had enough. "Okay, that's it. I'm tired of your attitude." "What attitude?" Taehyun grinned. "I'm just telling the truth." "Then prove you're not just full of hot air," Daeho said. "I dare you to marry one of them." The table went quiet. Everyone stared at Daeho. "What?" Taehyun laughed nervously. "You heard me. Marry a Veltharan woman. Live with her for 6 months. If you can't do it, you pay each of us a month's salary. That's 12 months of your pay total." Taehyun's face went pale. A year's salary was serious money, but backing down would make him look weak in front of everyone. He could see his friends watching him, waiting to see if he would chicken out. "Fine," Taehyun said, his pride taking over. "I'll do it. Easy money for me when I prove you all wrong." The next day, Taehyun regretted his decision, but his friends held him to it. They made arrangements through the station's cultural exchange office. Veltharans, it turned out, had temporary marriage contracts as part of their culture. It was a normal thing for them, like humans having roommates. When Taehyun met HFY for the first time, he didn't know what to say. She was waiting in one of the station's meeting rooms. Her body was large and round, her skin a deep purple-blue color that seemed to shimmer under the lights. She had 4 arms, each ending in 3-fingered hands. Her face was broad with wide-set golden eyes that looked at him with an expression he couldn't read. "Hello?" HFY said in perfect human language. Her voice was deep and pleasant. "You must be Taehyun." "I am HFY. I understand you wish to enter a marriage contract." Taehyun felt his face get hot. This was embarrassing. Yes. For 6 months. The standard contract." "I see," HFY said. She tilted her head slightly. "May I ask why you want this arrangement?" Taehyun scrambled for an answer. "Cultural exchange. Learning about different species. Building bridges between our people." HFY's golden eyes seemed to see right through him, but she simply nodded. "A worthy goal. I accept your proposal. I work as a quantum mathematics researcher here on the station. My quarters are in the science wing. They are large enough for 2. When would you like to begin?" Whenever," Taehyun said. He felt like he was in a dream. This was actually happening. Then shall we say 3 days from now? That will give you time to move your belongings. Sure, 3 days. Great. The wedding ceremony was nothing like Taehyun expected. It happened in a small office with a Veltharan official and 2 witnesses. The official spoke in both Veltharan and human language, talking about partnership, respect, and mutual growth. Taehyun barely listened. He just wanted it to be over. When the official asked if he agreed to the contract terms, Taehyun said yes. When Haewon was asked, she said yes calmly as if she was agreeing to a work schedule. They each pressed their hands to a digital pad and that was it. They were married. Congratulations, the official said. May your union bring wisdom to you both. As they left the office, Taehyun's friends were waiting outside. They were grinning like idiots. 6 months, Daeho reminded him. If you quit early, you pay up. I'm not quitting, Taehyun muttered. That night, Taehyun moved into Haewon's quarters. He was shocked when he saw them. The space was huge, much bigger than the cramped box he had been living in. The main room had high ceilings and walls that changed color slowly, cycling through calming shades of blue and green. There were several smaller rooms connected to it. This is amazing, Taehyun said without thinking. Veltharan standard accommodation, Haewon explained. We require more space due to our size. You may use the second bedroom. I have prepared it for you. She showed him to a room that was already set up with a bed, desk, and personal storage. Everything was clean and organized. Thank you, Taehyun said awkwardly. He still couldn't believe he was doing this. We should discuss our arrangement, Haewon said. I work long hours in the research lab. I will prepare meals for both of us as is Veltharan custom, but you are welcome to prepare your own food if you prefer. I value quiet in the evenings for study. Do you have any requirements? No, that's fine. I'll stay out of your way. Very well. Haewon paused. Taehyun, I want you to know that I understand this arrangement may be uncomfortable for you. I will respect your privacy, but I hope we can at least be civil to one another. Yeah, civil. Sure. As Haewon left him alone in his new room, Taehyun sat on the bed and put his head in his hands. What had he done? 6 months living with an alien he knew nothing about, all because he couldn't keep his big mouth shut. His friends were probably laughing at him right now, but he had made a deal. And Taehyun never backed down from a deal, even a stupid one made while drunk. He would survive these 6 months. He would keep to himself, do his work, and count down the days. Then he could go back to his normal life and forget this ever happened. At least that was what he thought would happen. Taehyun had no idea how wrong he was.